Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We're thrilled to kick off our workshop tonight about the climate crisis. Am I doing enough? This is a big question that a lot of people have, and that a question I get all the time. Next slide, please. And more folks are connecting the dots between the extreme weather events that they're experiencing, that they're seeing globally, and the climate crisis. And I'm hearing more and more people who want to get involved, but they're not exactly sure how. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about what we'll be covering right now. The first is how to define eco-anxiety, which is actually the people who are interested in this topic are likely feeling eco-anxiety. If you're asking yourself, am I doing enough? You likely have eco-anxiety. Then we're going to talk about the myth of the individual carbon footprint, and then shift to why individual actions matter, and then what individual actions make a difference, and then next steps. Next slide, please. So eco-anxiety is defined by the American Psychological Association as the chronic fear of environmental doom. Next slide, please. It is actually only been recently defined by the Oxford English Dictionary last year in September 2021. And the definition is unease or apprehension about current and future harm to the environment caused by human activity and climate change. Other terms you may hear are climate anxiety, solastalgia, climate despair, climate grief, and climate doom. Really, in the last 2 years, we've seen this term start to be defined. More psychologists and psychiatrists are seeing patients where their anxiety manifests in this concern about the future. And we're certainly seeing this with young people, especially Generation Z. There was a recent study that was published in September of 2021. It was a global survey of 10,000 young people. Nearly half, so 47%, said that climate anxiety interfered with their daily life. These young people were ages 16 through 25, by the way. And in this cohort of 10,000 young people globally, 1 out of 4 did not want to have children of their own because they're so worried about the climate crisis. So more and more people are asking themselves, am I doing enough, and how do I get involved? Next slide, please. So our approach at OneGreenThing starts at the intersection of mental health and the climate crisis, and we want to tackle eco-anxiety, this concern, through joyful daily action, leading to culture change for policy solutions, because we know that we need global and policy solutions. The problem is when environmentalists like me say we need global policy and market solutions, what a lot of people hear is, I don't matter. And that's not true. You matter, and we all matter. And we're going to dive deep into that in just a minute. But here's our approach. Action can help you abate anxiety, and connection, building community like we're doing tonight, can lessen loneliness, and policy action can scale solutions. Because going back to this loneliness point, a lot of people feel alone when they start thinking about the climate crisis, and feel very small when they think about how overwhelming the issue is. Next slide. So before we get started, even though this whole nonprofit talks about the importance of finding your unique role in climate action and individual action and daily practice, the reality is that, and this slide should say, the myth of the individual carbon footprint. So the carbon footprint is a real thing, but the individual carbon footprint, that whole concept of the individual carbon footprint, was actually created by PR executives from the oil and gas companies. It's true. Oil and gas companies' PR folks created this gimmick to try to shift the burden of the climate crisis onto all of us as consumers. So we don't want to fall for that. So whether or not you composted on Wednesday or whether or not you biked on Thursday is not going to solve the climate crisis. We all understand that. But when people hear that, a lot of times they even get more depressed when they hear about the individual carbon footprint being a myth and being a PR gimmick. The reality is, though, your individual actions absolutely do matter. Not only do they help ease eco-anxiety, they also help create culture change. Next slide, please. So performative environmentalism, and that's kind of a wonky term. Performative environmentalism creates culture change. So skipping the straw, bringing your reusable mug, composting, riding your bike, trying meatless Mondays, calling your member of Congress, voting for candidates, this all creates the culture shift that we need for big climate and policy solutions to take hold. Next slide, please. So we know we have the technology, we have all of the climate solutions, and there's even the money internationally and globally to solve the climate crisis. But what's missing is the political will, which is why that culture shift and that culture change that you're so critical of, critical to, is so important. Who you are and what you do inspires culture change. Next slide, please. And the funny thing is that when we all do it, when we all take these individual actions, the math actually does add up. The math of the footprint does add up. According to Project Drawdown, 25%, yes, we could achieve 25% of global carbon emission reductions through individual and household actions. And the culture change can help us drive that other 75% that we need to get the warming limited to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Next slide, please. So here are some OneGreenThings that you can do, and not listed here, but we will be listing moving forward. And that's one of the first things we tell everybody to do, is to take the Service Superpower Assessment at OneGreenThing.org. This is like a Myers-Briggs or an Enneagram, but it asks, who are you in service? How do you show up for the people that you love? There's 7 different archetypes. You can find out what your service superpower is, and then on the website, download a 21-day plan matching what your interests and your talents are to get started on this daily practice of sustainability, which is what we call a OneGreenThing. So here are the top things you can do. Reduce your food waste. Food waste actually contributes 8% of global carbon emissions. Buy carbon offsets when you travel. You want to dig a little deep and make sure that they're going to provide you annual reports and find out more about what the company is investing in to make sure that they are actually serving as carbon sinks. But it's a great opportunity for you to mitigate, for example, your airline travel and travel emissions. Switch to clean energy at your home. All kinds of great resources. Bike, use mass transit, eat more plants, buy less when you can, and of course, vote for climate leaders. There's all kinds of terrific resources on our website. Also, please check out my book, which is OneGreenThing, Discover Your Hidden Power to Help Save the Planet, with a whole bunch of great ideas there too. And we also collaborate and refer you to all kinds of other fantastic nonprofit organizations globally to help you find your unique role and how you want to show up in service in this movement. Next slide, please. So what now? Try your daily practice of sustainability, your OneGreenThing. We even have a tool called the Joy Tracker where you can track your joy so you can find out, oh my gosh, I love composting, or maybe, calling my member of Congress is so much fun. I love calling the Congressional Switchboard 202-321-1212. It is my favorite number to call, and I always ask to be connected to my member of Congress, even though they don't necessarily share my point of view. It is their job to listen to what I say. So that brings me a lot of joy. But for other people, that may not be the OneGreenThing that brings them joy. But when you do joyful daily action, it can really ease that eco-anxiety. Talk about climate anxiety and talk about climate action with your family and your friends. Check out the OneGreenThing.org website and take the Be an Awesome Ancestor pledge. Start to think about that long-term perspective. What future are we leaving the people we love, and what will they thank us for in the future? Because we can build a beautiful future for all of them, but we need to start right now, all of us do, thinking and embracing that idea that we're working for them, this idea of thinking beyond our age and intergenerational equity. And then finally, get involved. Please join the OneGreenThing newsletter, join the OneGreenThing community. Next slide, please. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We're all right here. And I think the conclusion is, am I doing enough on the climate crisis? I think all of us could do more, but of course we need global and policy solutions. Our number one principle at OneGreenThing is no, you can't go it alone. It's all about community. even though we're trying to help you find your unique role in service as we try to build a better future for all. Thank you all so much, and please hit the subscribe link on our YouTube channel and share this video if you thought it was helpful. Thanks so much for your support.